A culture of innovation that put the world on wheels and is now driving the next generation of transportation technologies. A legendary workforce that powers a statewide arsenal of innovation. A dynamic entrepreneurial ecosystem that captures the world's imagination and transforms concepts into creations. Vibrant communities and abundant natural resources that draw visitors from around the world, offering an unparalleled quality of life. For growth-minded companies looking for the right business environment for expansion or relocation, Pure Michigan means pure opportunity. A global supply chain located within 500 miles of 50% of the U.S. population with direct access to Canadian markets via 3 international border crossings. Access to the highest concentration of engineering talent in the U.S. and a skilled workforce among the top in the nation for advanced manufacturing. A statewide support network for startups, entrepreneurs, and small businesses, with a technology sector among the fastest growing in the country for annual tech job growth. The global epicenter of mobility innovation, ranking #1 nationally in automotive and mobility research and development. An international destination for foreign direct investment from across the globe. Historic downtowns and dynamic cities where people want to live. Combining a cost of living among the lowest in the country with a quality of life among the highest. When it's time to plan for what's next for your business, discover Michigan and discover pure opportunity.
Good morning. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to spend some time learning about Pure Michigan. This is an exciting opportunity for us. You're actually part of history today. This is the first state on stage at JEC World, so congratulations. We hope you enjoy it. We've got kind of a 2-part program today. So the first part, my colleague Vladko Tomic-Bobis is going to be presenting some background on Michigan, get you more details on how to engage and interact with Michigan entities. And then we've got a company that is European-based that's going to be making a move to Michigan here to share their experience. And then we have a service provider who will demonstrate some of the services that and support that can be offered as you consider entering into the North American market and Michigan specifically. We'll do some Q&A at that point, and then we'll switch to innovation partners in Michigan, a couple of companies, and a Composites Institute, part of the U.S. Department of Energy's Manufacturing USA program. So joining us today, like I said, Vladko is going to be hosting, Arnaud Farget, Global Account Manager Expleo, Nick Stasevich, the VP and shareholder for Butzel Long, Michael Swijek, VP of R&D for Teijin Automotive Technologies, Michelle Helsband, Operations Manager for Forward Engineering, and then last but not least, Dr. Ray Bowman, who's the director of the Scale Up and Research Facility as part of the IACME Composites Institute. We do encourage you to ask questions. We'll have 2 Q&A sessions, like I said. And then after today's presentations, we'll be hanging out outside the Agora if there's additional detailed conversations you'd like to have. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on my colleague, the Director of European Investment with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, Vladko Tomic. Vladko?
Thank you very much, Eric, for that kind introduction. My name is Vlatko Tomic-Bobis. I'm responsible for the European inward investment into Michigan, and specifically with supporting our European clients with getting access to state resources, federal resources, and being a connector. From my side, I've been with the organization now for about 12 years and have a management consulting background. Today, I'd like to talk to you really briefly about kind of the innovations that are happening in Michigan within the automotive sector and also within the ecosystem that we have created. I do apologize ahead of time. We will rush through this presentation fairly quickly to stay on schedule, but you will have access to this as well. So please do find me afterwards for any questions as we go forward. Really briefly, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation is the state entity responsible for commerce and inward investment into the Michigan market. We have a very simple mission, and that is, of course, to promote our image globally, to connect the ecosystem of Michigan with universities, with private investors, and then to also enable investment and job growth within our state. Really, what's very unique about a state like Michigan in the entire United States are a couple of key points that I'd like to go through. One of them is the industry concentration in Michigan. We're an industry leader when it comes to automotive, advanced manufacturing, information technology, medical device technology, and also the advanced polymer ecosystem with composites, carbon fibers, and so forth. We're also very centrally located in the United States with a really accessible strategy when it comes to the North American market, with key points of entry into Canada. We have an unmatched quality of life that I think our panelists today will be more than happy to comment on. And you also have a commitment from our team here to deliver solutions to any type of partner or organization that we're willing to kind of work with. Of course, being in Michigan, being the automotive industry, we have a very talented workforce that I'll touch on very briefly, and we are also very competitive incentives that we think sets us a little bit apart from the rest of us. For those in the audience that are not too familiar with Michigan, we are surrounded by the Great Lakes. Within a 800-kilometer radius, you have access to 50% of the U.S. market as well as 50% of the Canadian market, and it makes us a hub, so to say, for research and development in the region and also in the country. Again, Michigan is really known globally as a state that produces things. We have a very talented workforce. We're ranked 4th in the country for workforce development. We're ranked nationally as the leader in STEM manufacturing talent. And of course, we have the 4th largest concentration in manufacturing, all located in a 100-kilometer radius around the Detroit region. All of this is really done because of the university partnerships and the leadership that exists there. We have several universities within Michigan, including Michigan State University, University of Michigan, but we're also strategically partnering with others, including Indiana University, Wisconsin, Waterloo in Canada, to make them a connector into our leading industries here. Really quick, this slide here shows just the amount of activity in a 4-year period when it comes to inward investment into the Michigan market. We have a total of roughly $11 billion in CapEx in a 4-year period that came to the state of Michigan, with the United Kingdom leading the way with $3.8 billion, Germany $2.6 billion. And then we have Korea, Japan, and China following. I should note that investment is really focused more on partnerships and JVs, as we've kind of seen them lately. But there's a tremendous amount of activity that's happening in Michigan around the key industries that I've kind of mentioned here. Really quick, at a high level, automotive is still very, very important when it comes to Michigan. Roughly 20% of all US production in the automotive sector happens in the Michigan market. This is a tremendous amount of concentration of the industry, as well as the research and development that is done in a single state. Roughly $5 billion of that foreign direct investment is in Michigan. 1.9 million auto parts are being produced by 10 assembly plants in our state. There's really three key innovations that are happening right now within our market, within our industry. This snapshot, I thought, was really telling as our team was putting this together. Back in 1970, roughly 5% of the vehicle, of the electronics components, made up the total cost of the vehicle. By 2030, it is estimated that 50% of that cost of the vehicle will be in electronics. So the industry is really transitioning to a smarter vehicle. And when it comes to a smarter vehicle, the second trend that is really taking off is the monetization of data and subscription usage of the vehicle. The car is getting smarter. $6 billion was the market cap in 2022. That is estimated to go to $30 billion in the by 2030, I should say. Lastly, it's also interesting to see that the automotive industry is changing, of course, when it comes to the materials that are being used. That is becoming more and more important. Of course, challenges do still exist in this sector when it comes to scale, quality, and cost. And I'll allow my colleagues to elaborate a little bit further when it comes to all of the exciting things that are happening here. From an industry perspective, everybody, of course, is in Michigan already. We have 22 global OEMs that are located in Michigan. Everybody knows the Stellantis, GM, and Ford. Maybe what's a little bit unique to us is that we also have the German OEMs present. We also have some of the Chinese and the Japanese OEMs all located in Michigan. And because of that, we have also a highly concentrated supply chain that is also co-located there with 2,200 total suppliers. The Continentals, the Boschs, the Mahlers, the Valeos are all here as well, or there, I should say. And maybe a new trend since the beginning of COVID is this new mobility ecosystem that has started to come up in Michigan with a diversification of industry from California wanting to be closer to the decision makers and the producers of the vehicles. So we have seen Waymo, we have seen May Mobility and others open up research and development centers in Michigan. At a high level, Eric asked me to put together, he said, give me a slide that really just captures recent investments in Michigan. We talk a lot about the industry, but what are some of the most recent investments? And as I was putting this together a couple days ago, it's remarkable, if you just look at the numbers, how the industry has changed. Just recently, we have announced the Blue Oval Battery Park investment by Ford Motor Company. This is a $3.5 billion facility that will be for EV battery manufacturing. LG Energy Solutions is investing $1.7 billion. And of course, GM is consistently investing into Michigan with a $7 billion investment to convert one of their existing plants into a state-of-the-art production facility. On the European end, quite a lot of activity there. Please stay tuned for next week. There's going to be a major announcement coming on May 3rd out of Washington, D.C. But we are always announcing other projects, and we'll look forward to working with kind of the industry. On the incentive side, we do a little bit of everything with tax credits, with injections of capital, and also with unique structures that we're more than happy to discuss with you after this kind of event. With that, of course, there's always a tax slide, but I'm not going to bore you with that. Everybody has a tax slide always up. We can connect you to the right people to discuss this, of course, as well. So I know that was very quick, but with that, I'd like to maybe invite my fellow panelists up to the stage with Nick Stasevich and Arnaud Farjax. Please, if you would like to join me up to the stage.
Bonjour à tous, good morning to all. So I'm Arnaud Farjax. I'm a car guy and I'm a global account manager at Expleo, an engineering company for a major OEM. I will explain you why I'm here today with my partners. But first of all, let me show you what Expleo is.
Innovation. It's more than a goal or a destination. It's a continuous journey, and journeys are full of challenges, surprises, unexpected twists and turns, but also exciting discoveries, big ideas, new ways to make a positive impact on people's lives. Where will your innovation journey take you? Expleo is your trusted partner to guide you through all of it. With the right mix of bold thinking and reliable execution, we help you fast-track innovation at every step of your value chain, backed by our wide range of solutions. Take advantage of our deep sector knowledge, our extensive global footprint with unique best shoring capabilities, and our more than 40-year track record in engineering, technology, and consulting. We apply our broad expertise across multiple fields, including AI engineering, digitalization, hyper-automation, cybersecurity, data science, green innovation, and beyond. At Expleo, we can bring your boldest ambitions to life, and together act for a better, greener, and more secure society. Let's make your journey a success.
Okay, so as you can see, Expleo is an engineering company, but not only an engineering company, also technology and consulting. 60% of our activities is engineering, beside our customer for multiple industries. 30% is on technology, which means for IT, software application, quality engineering, quality assurance, quality platforms and transformation, and 10% for consulting. We are quite young with the name because we changed our name as Expleo 3 years ago, but we have more than 40 years of experience close to our customer on all industries that you can see on that picture. The last video is not fully up to date because we are already 17,000 people, and as we used to say, we are 17,000 game changer. Our target as Expleo is not only to provide resources to our customer or to provide activities, but really to provide solutions. We are really here to support them in their huge challenge they are facing. And given that I am in automotive, we can say that automotive is facing very big challenge and a huge transformation today. We are globally present. Target, of course, is to be close to our customer with local presence. We need to know them, to be fully aware of their tools, their process, their challenges. And we have 10 excellence centers in four countries to provide efficient solutions from a technical point of view and economical point of view. So with 4 major best choice centers, India, Romania, Morocco, and Egypt. So we are working on the full value chain, end-to-end value chain for our customer with end-to-end solution. And our priorities are really about sustainability and green mobility. In fact, our mobility is not different from the priority of our customer. We are fully supporting them in their challenges, and so we have the same challenges as them. To make a focus, because we are at JEC today, so a small focus on composites. We have activities on composites, mainly for aero today. Some activities about the improvement of composites, about their reliability. Activities about recycling. We have patented application for that with our innovation department. And to prepare the future of composites, we have since 2018 activities about bio-composites using bamboo in the composition of the material. Then why are we there today with all that background? And why are we working with Michigan, with MEDC? There is 2 major reasons, very obvious, I would say. First reason, we want to be where our customers are. And as Vlatko explained that, our customers, especially for automotive, OEM and Tier 1, they invest a lot in the US, they invest a lot in Michigan. So we have to be there where they are. And the second reason is obvious too. Michigan has the same strategy and same priority initiatives as us. Priority domain, such as autonomous vehicles, electronics with new software and software-defined vehicles, and digital transformation with Industry 4.0 applied to manufacturing, for instance. So definitely, we need Michigan, and we will be in Michigan to meet challenges of our customers. Thank you for your attention, and so I will invite Nick Stasevich from Bunsell.
Bonjour. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Arnaud. Like Arnaud, I'm a car guy as well. Most of my career, I've served as chief legal advisor for foreign car companies investing in the United States. I was company secretary for Porsche manufacturing, Porsche car top systems in the United States, a joint venture of Daimler and Porsche as well, and Lotus Cars. Also, aerospace companies, and finally on the board of directors of the world's largest amphibious vehicle company. So I like everything that moves by land, sea, and air. So just 1 minute about our firm. We are one of the oldest law firms in the United States. We'll have our 170th anniversary next year. We're proud that we have only firm in the area of 2 Supreme Court justices. And most importantly, we have the largest training program in the United States in Michigan for foreign lawyers from 80 countries from around the world. And it's a great thing for our clients and the foreign investors to have this resource. Our firm is full service, focusing on all areas of law with 170 lawyers and 300 employees, covering all areas of law. So now for 5 minutes of fun, on legal issues, if you will. Business corporations. If your company is going to be investing in the United States, the first thing you should consider, even after the first month, is simply setting up a corporation. In Michigan, it's very straightforward. Unlike most of Europe, Asia, and other parts of the world, there's no KYC. We can form a corporation in one day in Michigan, which will protect you from legal liability and also from worldwide tax exposure in the US. So it's very simple, very straightforward. And you don't need a Delaware corporation or a New York corporation. Michigan is less expensive, it's straightforward, it has all the same advantages. That's the number one probably misconception that investors have in the US is that you need a Delaware or New York corporation. Limited liability companies can be used also to own the property or a factory or an office, also set up within one day in Michigan. And by using them in combination with corporations, you can take advantage of all the tax benefits of having a holding company and by having limited liability companies for the operations. Workforces in the US, it's easier to hire, easier to fire than most parts of the world. Generally, and especially in Michigan, employees can be fired with or without cause on the same day, although definitely you want to keep all your best employees happy for as long as possible. We have very flexible workforces. And before employing anyone, especially engineers, salespeople, you want to enter into a non-competition agreement with those employees. This will allow you to keep all your information confidential. In the US, your non-competition agreements with employees can be much stricter than in Europe and other countries. It can totally protect you 360 from having your employees rated, from having your clients rated, etc. In immigration and visas, it's very important to do planning from the very beginning. Any thoughts of bringing engineers and other employees over, you should try to plan 1 year ahead of time. And I'm proud to say, and I'm pleased to say, not proud to say, but pleased to say, that finally the lines and the wait time for getting visas at U.S. consulates and embassies throughout the world is getting back to normal after waiting for months sometimes for a visa during COVID. Sales transactions, whether it's Michigan or any of the states, we are every week helping clients in all 50 states. Unlike in Europe, where things are set forth in the code, the sales code, and you only need perhaps a one-page contract, in US it's very important to have all your terms written in the contract, and that you have your terms you're using and not your vendor's terms, and hopefully your customer will allow you to have some of your own terms. Because everything in the US is governed by the exact contract. It doesn't fall safely to the code as it does in Europe and Asia. For real property transactions, it's important to think through this, to have a separate company holding this, because there are a bunch of tax pitfalls that can be avoided by simply setting up the right limited liability company to hold the foreign property. Finally, dispute resolution. I know people are afraid in the US of courts, of all the lawsuits, of all the TV shows we have about suing every day. But I'm happy to say that in Michigan we've developed, through years of development, I worked on this also for many years, specialized business courts that can bring a quick, swift resolution towards disputes among businesses with specialized judges in the business field. So hopefully that 5 minutes gives you a little overview of the things you should immediately consider, things that clients often overlook when they start, and you have a checklist of 8 things to consider on your very first move to the US, and we'll have the time to talk about more during the Q&A. So thank you again.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah. Thank you, Nick. Let me just make sure we go forward to our lovely Q&A session here. This is not it. We'll leave it here. Nick, no, please have a seat. Thank you for that overview, and thank you, Renaud, for sharing your comments here. We don't have too much time. And Renaud, you talked a little bit about the concentration of industry. You've talked a little bit about how important it is for you to be near Stellantis and also others. Can you maybe give us a couple thoughts on your growth strategy in the US market and how important that is for your global footprint as your integrated company, as you've outlined?
I suggest I focused on my account because I'm a global account manager for Stellantis, and you have mentioned it. So if I do a focus on Stellantis, as Expleo, we have an historical main footprint at Stellantis for ex-PSA perimeter, mainly focused on Europe. And now, as you know, ex-PSA and ex-FCA become Stellantis. Stellantis is a true global partner, major OEM, and Detroit, Michigan is clearly, and US is clearly one of the major markets for them. So Stellantis is one example why we have no option, and at the same time it's a great opportunity for us, but to be close to them in Detroit, in Michigan, in the US, and it is the same for other OEM with headquarters in the US and other tier one. So clearly for us, for automotive and other sectors, it's key to be there, close to our customers.
That's great. So you are clearly linked to the success of the OEMs, as you said. As they're growing, you're growing, and hopefully we can avoid the reverse of that as well. I think there's a role for us to play in that. Nick, thanks again for that terrific overview. I do have a question for you as well. When the federal government passed the Inflationary Reduction Act, how big of a deal was that from your perspective, and does your firm offer any type of support when it comes to accessing some of those funds?
That was really transformative. There will be up to $10 billion of grants and assistance available for companies putting together product in the U.S. with final assembly in the U.S. This could be very significant. It's driving our clients who are currently abroad in Europe, Asia, selling to the U.S. to saying, look, we need to set up something in Michigan for some assembly to get a part of the $10 billion that's going to be available. $2 billion is immediately available. And right now we're working probably 6-7 days a week. Every person is asking, how do I get a piece of this? And most of our clients are going to qualify for this. And the other thing it's done is for the manufacturers of electric vehicles, they are really seeking out now companies that have at least some operation in the US. That's really helping drive investment toward Michigan because they need to make this 50% content rule. 40% of the production of critical elements have to be extracted in the US or amongst one of our trade partners that we have a free trade agreement, for example, with Korea. The other thing is the 50% content requirement of product manufactured or assembled in the US. So it's driven an unprecedented interest in companies for setting up something in the US, even if it's 1 or 2 person office.
Yeah. No, that's great feedback, and it's good to hear that Butzel is involved in that process and that you can support clients throughout it. So thank you for that. And maybe one more question for Arnaud. I mean, you've gone through this process with us now, working with Michigan. Your feedback probably matters the most, I think. What has your experience been like? Is there anything we can do better to support companies like yourself?
I would say that we can always improve. As project manager with project mindset, we always can improve. But I would say that to date, it's only one word, it's really easy. It sounds very easy with you to be in Michigan. And since the beginning of our discussion, so to be clear, we are not yet in Michigan as Expleo, but we are targeting to be very soon. And definitely, it's a true support that you provide to us, not only for incentives, but also about the advice to find the right location, to have the right resources, to work with the right universities.
So clearly, I would say thank you, and yeah, let's improve the process, but it's already really efficient, I would say. Very easy.
That's great. That's great. Thank you for that. I think we might have time for one or two questions for the audience. So if there's any questions, please just feel free to stand and somebody will bring a mic to you, and we'll take any questions for our panelists here today. Somebody should be getting you a mic at this point. Oh, I see somebody moving. Yeah. No, she's coming. She's coming. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Heberger. I'm a contributor to JEC Composites magazine. And this question is for Nick. You mentioned that $10 billion in grants, $2 billion immediately available. You mentioned about having to be doing some assembly to qualify, but then later you said about just maybe having the two-person office, and I wondered if you could just share a little bit more about what you have to invest in to get some of that money, the grant money. Thank you.
To qualify for the percentage of U.S. produced, U.S. qualified goods, some clients are having targeted sales offices to make sure that they're acquiring and purchasing from countries where the U.S. has a free trade agreement, where the components will also count towards that 50%. So thanks for that. Was a great question. We have limited time, so I'm glad you asked that question, because that was the first thing I would have liked to go into more detail on. So great question. So you can help meet the requirement by working on with a country that has explicit language in the free trade agreement saying that this will count towards the electric vehicle. For example, Korea has it. Right now, the UK and European countries don't have this. One of the things our company is working on with our Washington, D.C. office is to lobby on behalf of our European and Asian clients to say, wait a minute, if Korea has this and Japan just signed one, Treasury Department will be probably announcing this week or next week to say, okay, will Japanese components count towards this? So stay tuned. This could come out any day now. And it's determined on the U.S. Treasury's interpretation of each free trade agreement. And so many of my European friends in the European capitals are saying, wait, what about us also for this free trade agreement? The easiest way to make certain that you're making this, because the law could change on that, because people in the U.S. are saying, wait a minute, this should be a purely only count the U.S. produced goods and manufactured. You can't just have a sales office focusing on importing. You need to be doing the actual final assembly here. And for example, to qualify as an electric vehicle manufacturer, you've got to be doing that. Final assembly has to be done in the U.S. For the components manufacturers, just to finish off in 30 seconds here, the components manufacturers, you will always be able to qualify if the assembly's in the U.S. You won't be subject to the political ups and downs of the interpretation of the trade treaties. So thanks again for that great question. And sorry for the long answer.
Great question. Thanks for that feedback. Any other questions? I think we might have one more. Please. I think you just have to hold it and keep it near you, and it will activate.
Good morning. And Chris from Fiber USA. So historically in Michigan, almost all of the industry has been focused around Detroit, maybe as far out as Flint. As you see industry returning to the great state after the collapse in 2008, are you seeing a broader distribution, or are you seeing a big cluster around Detroit again?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I think from our perspective, we've seen that now expand. So if you look back to the 80s and 90s, it was really focused around the Detroit, Oakland County area. But now, because of these large-scale investments that are coming in, people simply need space, right? So we just had the Ford announcement, and that went as far as Marshall, Michigan, right, which is a good almost 2 hours away from the Detroit region. So I think the industry is pushing farther west in Michigan, all the way to Lansing and even the Grand Rapids area when it comes to these big investments. The other interesting thing, it's also not only automotive. You know, automotive is still critical to the state. It's about 20% of the entire GDP of the state, but we're seeing quite a bit of diversification that's driven in other sectors as well. So that'd be great. Thank you. You know, with that, I think that concludes our session here of part 1. And if there's any other questions, please come find us after this event. We're more than happy to connect with you after this. And I would like to thank my panelists, Nick and Arnaud. I really appreciate your time here. And I look forward to seeing you in Michigan. Thank you.
Thanks, Vlatko.
See you all again. Hope you enjoyed the first session there, and I hope you enjoyed the video. In addition to driving innovation and a great place to do business, we also believe that Michigan is a wonderful place to take a vacation. So we hope to see you enjoying all of what Michigan has to offer. We're going to shift gears now with our second group of panelists. They're going to come up and give some thoughts on their companies. So you get a chance to see some of the wonderful members of the materials ecosystem in Michigan and the innovation that they're driving. So at this point, I would like to invite Michael, Michelle, and Ray up to the stage, and Michael Swijek from Teijin Automotive will be the first to present.
Good morning, I'm Mike Swijek from Teijin Automotive. Just kind of giving you a little overview of innovating in Michigan. We're world headquarters for our automotive division is in Michigan, so we've been there for a while. So if you look on the screen, we have two main technical centers. The one on the left there is our world headquarters, as well as our Composites R&D laboratory. And on the right, we have our Advanced Technology Center, where we're doing more manufacturing development. And if you have any questions after this, our booth's right there. You can come find us in Hall 6. To give you an idea of our technology footprint, yes, we're based in Michigan, but we are a truly global company. We have engineering and R&D all over the world, as well as manufacturing. So in the U.S., we're 12 manufacturing facilities and 2 in Mexico. And then in Europe, we have 2 in Portugal, 1 in the Czech Republic, and we also manufacture SMC in France now. Teijin also has entities around the world where they do some composites R&D as well, so in Japan, in Europe, and then we do have a few manufacturing facilities in China. We are a full service supplier, so we do engineering and design all the way through making the raw material and molding and sending off to the OEM customers. So we have more than 150 years or 160 years in the industry. If you know our lineage, we go all the way back to the late 60s, early 70s, Duralastic and the Bud Company, which became ThyssenKrupp Bud, which kind of structural plastics. But then as we acquired companies moving forward, Teijin decided to put us all under one umbrella. So Teijin Automotive Technologies is Continental Structural Plastics with that lineage I spoke of. CSP Victal out of China, Inapal, which is our Portugal operations, Bennett, which is Czech Republic, and then Teijin Automotive in Europe. So it's a pretty broad network, 5,400 employees, but we do a lot of R&D. We're about a $1.5 billion company now and still growing. And we really strive for innovation. So we're not just making parts and sending them out. We try to innovate, try to understand the material. I know people in the past said SMC is a black art. It's a science now, and we're really trying to drive that forward. The types of parts we do, a lot of composite body panels in the automotive industry. So Class A body panels, pickup boxes are very big portions of our business. We're really getting into, as everybody you see at the show, the battery market. So EV battery enclosures, and with that innovation, we can do flammability protection with putting it actually into the formulation. So you see some of our vehicles there. We also do some non-automotive, some heavy truck, but also non-automotive like outboard motor housings, paver tiles, things like that. This is just a sampling of our customers. I should say that this isn't all of them. It kind of moves as you all know. A lot of technology, a lot of awards. I won't go through those in detail. But in our composites lab, so we, as I said, we have a team of about 30 R&D people that work in Auburn Hills, Michigan. We have a extremely well-equipped composites laboratory. So even some of our OEM partners don't have some of the toys that my team's been given. So it's really a great place to work. Again, we provide full service. So we go from the SMC formulation to designing parts to making the compound to molding parts and then sending them to our customers. And this afternoon at 2 o'clock, if you're around, Teijin is doing a talk on sustainability, and Dave Krug from my team is going to speak from the Teijin Automotive side. So we're really getting to the sustainability side. A few pictures just of the facilities. We do have a prototype line in our shop with very broad capability. We have manufacturing size presses, 500 ton, 200 ton, and 100 ton in our R&D lab. But then up at our Advanced Technology Center, we're working on trying to go to the next generation material. So composites as SMC, but also as we're getting to the thermoplastic industry. But we have a 4,000 ton press, a 750 ton press, 450 ton press, and a lot of peripherals that allow us to do a lot of the development right there. We used to have to break into our manufacturing. Now we can do a lot right there in Auburn Hills. So some pictures of all these toys. But just quickly, I'll say why Michigan. Well, as I said, our NCD kind of started in Michigan with a Bud company, and we've been there ever since, so it's kind of in our DNA. But it's close to the OEMs, as you all know. The technology footprint, early in the first session, you saw that there's a lot of tier ones, a lot of support type companies. As I drive 8 miles to work every day, I probably pass most of those. They're all in Auburn Hills. So it's really a great concentration center of talent. Large talent pool, the universities we've hired, most of our team is Michigan or at least Midwestern-based universities. And then the Midwest is a huge composites region for automotive, so we're close to everybody. So, and again, as you saw some of the Michigan videos, great place to live and work. So I'm going to pass it on now to Michelle Halsband from Forward Engineering.
Thanks, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here. I'm Michelle Halsband. I am the operations manager for Forward Engineering in North America. Our office is in Royal Oak, Michigan. We are just a few miles from the city center of Detroit, the Motor City. So if any of you don't know, and I'm sure you've seen it on the video, the Lower Peninsula of Michigan is shaped like a mitten. So people from Michigan tell you where they're from by pointing to their hand, and this is Detroit. This is the Detroit area. Forward Engineering is a global engineering consulting firm. We're experts in accelerating the development of composite-intensive solutions for our customers around the globe. Our tagline, Automotive Composite Solutions, means our focus is on developing cost-effective, scalable, robust, sustainable solutions that leverage the power of polymers and composites. We are currently working on composite-intensive projects in both thermoset and thermoplastic solutions, and our OEM and tier manufacturer friends are very excited about the role that these materials can play in the transition from internal combustion engines to battery electric vehicles. Our headquarters are in Munich, Germany, and we have offices in Nagoya, Japan, and Royal Oak. We have partnerships in China. In 2017, we began our journey to explore the US market for expansion. And our Munich team had explored the US market in the past, but this time the focus would be on the Detroit metro area and stakeholders and influencers up and down the value chain. What we found was 25 OEM headquarters and R&D facilities, 40 proving grounds and mobility deployments, and over 90 top suppliers within minutes. So we spent a year immersed in this market, and we knew from the get-go that this was the place to be to have our office. And we opened our doors in 2020 in Royal Oak, Michigan. Royal Oak is central to the OEMs and tiers that we are working with. And in spite of opening our doors in 2020 for COVID, great timing, we thrived using the fantastic resources in the Detroit area. Our product is the design and engineering of sustainable automotive and advanced mobility solutions, from concept design through prototyping, testing, validation, all the way to serial production. Michigan has experts in every material and every manufacturing process. We facilitate the engagement of upstream material suppliers, downstream tier producers, OEMs, academia, and public and private institutions to deliver design, development, prototyping, and validation solutions driven by the intense shift to electrification. Forward engineering is on the leading edge of the development of test protocols. Most recently, we developed the box thermal runaway test. This is a material screening test for high voltage battery enclosures and has now been codified as UL2596. Forward engineering is on the leading edge of material development, and with our partners, we are compounding, molding, and testing new bio-based and recycled materials. Forward engineering is on the leading edge of developing high voltage battery enclosures and body structures. We conduct plaque level testing and validation to component, subsystem, and complete vehicle builds, all here in Michigan. Michigan has leading tool manufacturers, automation designers, robotics integrators, and line builders. We help our global customers find the best opportunity for their new materials to land on a production vehicle. So if any of you are familiar with the Broadway show Hamilton, if you want to be in the room where it happens, come to Michigan. So our customers seek out forward engineering for our expertise in materials, simulation-driven design, and sustainability. At Forward Engineering North America, we combine Detroit hustle with German engineering. We are embedded in the Michigan market, and we leverage our collaborative approach to accelerate the development of composite-intensive solutions for our customers around the globe. Our Munich-based team are experts in materials and simulation-driven design. We create material cards where there were none. We simulate these new materials in new applications and engage the OEMs and tier manufacturers. Thank you so much for your time and attention. It's been a pleasure to present today. Please come visit our booth. We're at Q Quaker 9 right here in Hall 5, and we have experts on hand to talk about new test development, materials simulation, anything you think that might be something you want to talk about. So I'm going to introduce now from Michigan State University and IACME, the Composites Institute, Dr. Raymond Bowman. Thanks, Ray.
Thank you, Michelle. So I'm Ray Bowman. I'm going to actually show a video in a moment, but I thought I would just kind of introduce it for a moment. So I'm with Michigan State University. Michigan State University actually has 3 centers devoted to composites, going back as long as 40 years in the making. And what the video will focus on is our newest one that was established under the Manufacturing USA initiative, and that is IACME. There is an IACME booth that I would invite you to visit to look at more of our partners within that institute. So it's unique in the U.S. in terms of its size and scale of equipment, and it is really a place where we engage with companies in both pre-competitive and proprietary projects to help them in those last stages of scaling up, validating, run at rate demonstrations before they take that technologies or those improvements to commercial success. So with that, let's please see the video.
So Michigan State University is a core innovation partner for the Institute for Advanced Composites Manufacturing Innovation, or IACME. There are a number of core partners comprised of national labs and universities. The scale-up research facility we call SERV, we're located in the heart of automotive R&D. So about 70% of automotive R&D happens in Michigan, and the largest concentration is in Detroit area. So it's a natural convening place. We're seeing a lot of interest that is being driven by electrification. To extend the range of electric vehicles, we need to lighten them up. So there are specific applications like battery enclosures that folks are looking at. Also, some of those same needs and motivations are appearing in other industries. This is the only facility of its kind in North America. If you look at the breadth and the scale of the equipment, we offer the ability to scale up that technology, make real prototypes that can find their way on a vehicle into a proving grounds for evaluation and certification.
I decided I wanted to be involved in manufacturing of automotive composite parts, and to get there I took certified composite training classes from the ACMA. The ACMA is the American Composite Manufacturing Association. You have to know the basic criteria for compression molding or injection molding a composite part, what's going to give you good properties, and how to troubleshoot defects.
People that are very well rounded in composites are difficult to find. The strongest candidates that I've found are some of the kids that have done a lot of hands-on projects in school where they might design something, have to build it, machine it, and then actually drive it. So those have been great, students or people that I've always sought after to hire.
This is a SUV liftgate outer, and what it is a Class A part, which means that we're looking for a certain finish on the outside of it so that it can be painted and go right onto a car. And this was a big project, a very big part, and it has an inner also that's structural. So the outside is nice and pretty, the inside has all your mechanics. It took us maybe 80 parts before we started to get a good part when we started trying to do this.
So kind of where this industry is going is a very exciting time. We're pushing on things that, industry maybe can't, but with us and bringing in the right partners, we can tackle.
This is fun. It's fun doing this because people want your input. They want to know what you think about making a better part, and you're not going to see that in some of the other fields that I was in.
One of the exciting things we see on the horizon is the urban air mobility market. And that's kind of a nice marriage between automotive and aerospace in a sense. We're seeing agencies like NASA and the Air Force really paying attention to this, and we think this is going to be an exploding opportunity for the workforce.
I think there's a lot of opportunities right now in composites, and what we need is people that understand how to make good parts and what's involved in getting the right mechanics in these parts to step into those roles that didn't exist before.
All right, well, thank you all for your wonderful presentations. Let's dive into some questions here, and I will remind the audience here, please, if you have a question, stand up and you'll be recognized. But to get started here, the theme really of this entire event, but certainly this section, is innovation. And so I'm wondering for all of you, and I'll start with you, Mike, what areas are you prioritizing from an innovation perspective within the company, and or what opportunities do you see or needs in the industry as a whole where innovation needs to take place?
Yeah, so we've always been focused mainly on automotive, so we support the customers that are local to us, and again, so we're working directly in the innovation side with the engineering teams at the OEM, so as they come to us and we develop and then push it from the back. So they're asking their purchasing to buy it from us. So, but if you do that innovation with with the institutes like IACME, where we're starting to work with the OEMs together, you're developing together, and that's really where I've seen a lot of change in the last few years. Where instead of us trying to invent something and sell it, we're vending it together. But the drivers now, it's always still lightweighting. The EV market is huge, so we're really focusing on that. But then the sustainability side is starting to become more and more important. And I see those last two as the ones where we really need to develop quickly and grow fast.
Appreciate that. Ray, you at the Institute work with a lot of different companies, so your perspective is going to be unique here.
Well, it's not surprising I agree with everything Mike said, but I think, so we are sort of agnostic in terms of materials and so forth, in the sense that what we are actually trying to do is help companies commercialize. And so we're not predefined to look at any certain material. We are seeing lots and lots of interest in thermoplastics, but also still in the thermosets. What I would say for me personally, as I look at this opportunity, and Mike touched on the sustainability part, composites, because of the flexibility you have with composites, and basically you're designing the material itself as well as the structure and so forth, it gives it just sort of an enormous sort of capability or flexibility. That can create a challenge, right, in terms of finding a workforce that knows how to do that. And as I look at electrification and things like that, and the ability to, and Mike touched on this as well, add additives to give certain functionality or embed things. These are all fantastic value proposition, but they do come with the challenge in terms of sustainability if you're looking at recycling. So I think, again, Mike said sustainability is key, and I think it really is going to be in terms of not only because of itself, but to allow us to maximize the value proposition that composites can provide.
Just real quick before going to you, Michelle, how big of a challenge is sustainability and recyclability? Is this a short-term fixable opportunity, or is this going to take years and years of intensive investment and research, do you think?
Okay. Well, thanks, Mike. No, like anything, it's not a binary thing, right? So you'll see most, if not all, corporations, have a focus on sustainability, circularity, all these sorts of things. So there's commitments. Now, some are more proactive and early adopters, I'll say, than others. But I mean, it's an amount of degrees, right? Because if we start looking at very complex multifunctional composites with embedded electronics, that's different than, can I recycle this thermoplastic composites, let's say, where maybe I shred it and reuse it. So it's a degree. It's going to be, in my opinion, it's going to be something we'll be working on for a while, but there are opportunities today as well.
Thanks, Ray. Michelle?
So I definitely think that sustainability is what the customer wants, and that's going to drive the OEMs to incorporate recycled material, bio-based material, recyclable materials into their vehicles, and any feature that we can add that's customer facing is going to just make that product sell better, quicker, faster.
So when we were all talking about what we might talk about today, Michelle, you brought up talent, and it's such a key to any company's success globally. It's a global race for talent. So I'll start with you. We'll work backwards this time. Just if you could share what your experience has been in the Michigan ecosystem, your ability to attract talent, the right type of talent, and if there are things that that the state has done, or maybe programs like what IACME or Michigan State's running that have been helpful.
Great. So we've had some really talented students that have been applying for our new internship program that is beginning this summer. In addition to the great engineers that our area schools are pumping out, the graduates of these areas are looking at cities like Royal Oak and Birmingham and Ferndale because they're walkable and they have restaurants and shops, and the winter sporting activities and summer beaches in Michigan are incredible. So from an attracting talent because of the area, you know, Michigan has a lot to offer, and Forward Engineering is working on really compelling exciting engineering work right now, and that is bringing us some great candidates. They want to work on sustainability, they want to work on high voltage battery enclosures, and they want to work with composites and polymers.
You left one out, Detroit. No, in all seriousness, you may be aware that Ford purchased the old Central train station in Michigan, in Detroit, and that's going to be a tremendous facility that's driving a lot of folks, young folks and others, into the region and creating an ecosystem. But the system expands out into Southeast Michigan, clearly, and I think workforce is a tremendous opportunity. And we're seeing that recognized in the federal programs and state programs. And so and as a member of a university, we are also looking at how we can better serve in non-traditional ways. And as an institute, as a member of the core innovation partner of the institute, that's also a core mission in various ways through internships. Sometimes, in the past at least, that sometimes they've been placed at companies, our member companies, as well as our core innovation partners. So clearly workforce is a high priority as well.
Yeah, I mean, we find a lot of our talent locally. So, you know, the major universities and even some of the smaller ones that people might not know as well about. We've had a standing internship program with Kettering University, which used to be GMI for some of the people that are my age and older. But, you know, and you get a rotation of students that come through every 3 months, and then they come back for their whole career. And we get them right out of high school before they even start college. And after 4 years, you know, hopefully we have a place for them and they want to stay with us. And I think we've hired 3 or 4 people just in the last few years out of that program. But we've had IACME interns, and we're always looking for that kind of, because, you know, when I started 24, 25 years ago, composites wasn't really a concentration. It was there were people that did it, but it was few and far between. But now you're seeing more and more composites programs in the universities, and it's easier to find people that kind of know what we're working on. But as you know, the Detroit area, Michigan will draw a lot of those engineers to the automotive industry, so there's a good talent pool to pick from.
Thank you. I'm going to pause for just a second and see if there's any questions from the crowd. I do have more index cards, so I can keep going. All right. We're obviously at an international event, broad exposure. Mike and Michelle, you work, for a global organization. So I'll ask the question to you a little bit differently, but Ray, for those that might be interested in, potential connections and opportunities with IACME, how does it work?
Well, okay, so there's many potential answers to there. Within the IACME partnership, there are actually some international collaborations. They've been traditionally more informal than formal. We're hoping, or I'm hoping anyway, I think I can say we are hoping that there are some mechanisms that we can make that more formalized. So one way is if you're let's say in France or the UK or Germany, just for sake of argument, whether it's a Fraunhofer or Sateem or the NCC in the UK, we do some collaborations. Again, they're kind of informal, but we're hoping to grow. Certainly, I'll say more my personal experience in the state. I mean, I failed to mention in the beginning that the surf, and I would argue to some extent all of IACME owes the MEDC a certain level of gratitude for the starting, because they made the first state commitment, by which we were able to leverage other states to commit. So I see as part of my personal mission, although nobody grades me on it, that I know of, is when they ask for a trade delegation to come through, I always eagerly say yes. So we've had Turkey, Korea, the Netherlands, I'm going to forget some, I apologize. And so we work both with the MEDC, local economic development corporations, Chamber of Commerce as well. So there's avenues through, if you reach out to the chambers in the US, they have delegation visits. We'll be doing one with I think it's multi-country visit organized by the Detroit Regional Partnership in May through the Chicago-based things. And we also, we are very interested in exploring, if you're looking for an initial footprint, maybe it's just an office, maybe you want to put sort of a unique piece of equipment in the US, it gets exposure, come talk to us. That's something that we have done and would love to do more of.
Great. And Mike and Michelle, like I said, you're part of global organizations. I'm wondering how the Michigan footprint or the operations, how do you leverage across your global resources and assets? Do you have some level of autonomy and you're operating kind of independently, or if a potential partner here wants to connect, can they connect through another element of your global operations that ultimately can leverage what you're doing in Michigan as well? Just how does that connection work? Mike?
Well, from our standpoint, yes, we do have autonomy in each of the regions, but there is a technology sharing, if you will. So from from the composite side of the business, we grew it globally. We share that technology across the globe, and then our partnerships with the OEMs are all over as well. So, and that's part of the reason we are in China, to support our OEM partners that we already had partnerships in the U.S. And in Europe as we grow there and start to learn that market. So we have the team in Europe that has experience in that market, and as they need assistance, we can go back and forth. So there's a lot of collaboration across continents, if you will, and the talent is starting to, and there's, especially we've gotten a lot better at the remote communication through through the 2020 time frame, but it's good to get back in person again and you know, see faces and learn names and really start to touch and feel products. And that's kind of how we do it. We kind of share that all over the world. And you have to share the responsibility because we're all pretty lean now.
We are very fortunate. We work hand in hand globally. We have a great team in Nagoya and a great team in Munich. We were just in Japan 3 weeks ago, rolling out some new products and doing training. So we are in a really nice working environment so that when we're doing our Teams calls, which are weekly, they're global, absolutely global. Our customers are from all over the world. We tend to be product-based, so if it's a U.S. product, we'll run it out of the North American office, and it's same, you know, in Asia and in Europe.
Great, okay. We have time for one more question, so last chance for an audience question. All right, so as we close today, if there's one thing that you want our guests to take from today about your organization and about Michigan, what would that be? Michelle, I'll start with you.
Okay, so forward engineering, we know global regulatory requirements. We know OEM technical requirements. So if you're working with us in North America, we're going to make sure your product can be used anywhere in the world. That's pretty important. And Detroit rocks. The surf is in Detroit. The blues, the Motown. There's a renaissance going on down in Detroit where there are many weekends out of the month enjoying, and the Detroit area is just fabulous. If you are in the area, you must go see the surf, because what Ray has going on in that shop is absolutely incredible.
So before you start, Michelle, if you ever need a job with the state of Michigan, you're doing a far better job selling, so I appreciate that. Great enthusiasm, Ray.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how much I owe for that. But no, thank you, seriously. To my left and right are two good partners that I enjoy working with professionally and knowing personally. So that's one of the joys. But I would say my background was I spent most of my I spent 27 years at Oak Ridge National Lab in Tennessee. And on two separate occasions, I created opportunities for myself to move to Michigan. Because if you're going to work in automotive in the U.S., where else are you going to be, in my view? Proximity means everything. And just the abundance of the tech centers, the corporate headquarters, even for global companies, at least certain their market segments or divisions, it's just the ideal place if you want to convene, connect, and so forth. So the state's a good partner, as well as are the regional economic development corporations. And right now in Detroit particularly, but all throughout the state, it's an exciting time with revitalization going on. So do I get a job too, Eric?
What's that?
Do I get a job too?
She gets first dibs.
Okay.
Well, as my fellow panelists said, I mean, the proximity to what we do, it's just to be in that area. Makes it a lot easier, right? And it is a great place. I am biased. I grew up in the Detroit area, and left and came back. From a Teijin standpoint, we do have a long history and a lot of experience in composites, going again back to the late '60s. And as we've grown up with the automotive industry and seen more and more opportunities for composites, it's a good time to be in that industry. And there's always something exciting, there's always something new, there's always a new challenge. So to be in Michigan with all the other companies doing the same thing and learning together and working together, we can move forward as an industry, which I think sometimes we, looking at our competition being, say, metallics, there's kind of a unified effort on the metallic side. There's a steel organization, there's aluminum, but we have every kind of composite, every kind of plastic in the world here, and we don't always have a unified message. And I think our unified message is pretty strong for recyclability, for sustainability, for flexibility in what our customers want. So if we work together, we can grow there's enough for all of us to be busy for a long time.
Thank you, and I'll take that as a homework assignment for the MEDC to help you amplify that message as well. So thank you so much for your time and talent sharing it with us today. I want to thank the audience for sticking with us and hopefully learning about Michigan. We're going to be out back, like I said, if you have more in-depth discussion you'd like to have. But for now, please join me in thanking Mike, Ray, Michelle, as well as Vladko, Arnaud, and Nick. Thank you so much.